Well, hello, class. I just thought that you might need the benefit of seeing me every once in a while. So I thought maybe I'd put it together a little video. Wanted to say hello. I know that you've been working hard. Um, the couple weeks ago, I asked you to build a drive folder and a subfolder for each week. And you don't have to build each subfolder until you need it, but that's going to be pretty handy. Hopefully that you understand that that's how that works. If you still have a few questions, please give me a call. I do respond really well to calls, and also I try to stay on top of my emails as much as possible. You might be thinking after chapter 2 that what the heck have I gotten myself into? When I started teaching this online and in the classroom as well, I knew that most of you are going to take an accounting class, so that you're going to get that under your belt. But I wanted to give you some practical applications to it, and I didn't really have the wherewithal to print up a book like the one that you had to buy for this class. I knew that from the get-go. Maybe if I'm here long enough, that will happen, but I'm not too sure about that. But I think it is my responsibility to kind of to herd you in the right direction and tell you why. If you've had me in any of my other classes, if you're actually on campus, you probably have heard me say, well, why? Or why aren't you asking why? And I think you should do that throughout your life, especially at a place like a college, where you're trying to enhance your education and get something out of it. And that is the bottom line, ultimately. So anyway, I want to make sure that you understand, or at least where I'm coming from as far as this goes. I know that this is a little bit different kind of a business that we're going to be entering in transactionally than an agricultural farmer ranch might be, but I look at it a couple different ways. This is one of the better books that I was able to get my hands on, and also the fact that agriculture is changing. And I know that you are right up in the middle of just something that is pretty special. But technology and old school types of ideas are coming together, especially on the land that we harvest our crops from. And it's not a bad thing to actually study a different kind of business as we go through this, because there's more people, including yours truly, that have endeavored to take a path that diverts a little bit from agriculture, that provides a service or a product directly to the consumer. There's never been a day where this has been possible, where if you want to raise grass-fed beef and market it directly to the person that's going to put it on their plate, it's absolutely a possibility, and it is being done. Or if you want to grow anywhere from 2 acres to 20 acres of raspberries in the middle of Wyoming, that you're able and capable and can market that through the internet to your customer base. And so I think it's really important that we actually take a look at how other businesses are run. And because we're adopting those same kinds of things in order to make our businesses fly. And they're going to do the cash flow, and they're going to enhance our profitability, and that's the name of the game. And they're going to increase our quality of life along the way. So I think you're going to learn some things, maybe especially if you have an open mind, as we enter some of these things on a transactional basis throughout the semester, as we go through and we talk about this Beach Barkers pet store that we're going to be entering for, because actually we have more in common with this kind of a business in today's agriculture than we don't. Okay, so that's my little spiel on that. A couple of things I wanted to just visit with you about, and you're sure welcome again to call me anytime. email me, whatever works for you. Sometimes a question leads to a question, which leads to a question. So a phone call is the most effective, but if it's just one question, I certainly can answer it via email. Just some tips on what I would do if I were going to effectively educate myself and become better at a computerized accounting system like QuickBooks is, and using the text as a reference. First of all, I would at least breeze through the chapters, either a chapter at a time, or I'm built where I can't comprehend a full chapter, especially if it's a lot of information at once. I'll take it section at a section, so I'll read over it before I do anything. The instruction within the textbook it's very, very basic, and it takes you through things on a very, very intentional step-by-step process. So the next step after reading that section or the chapter would be to actually go into the test drive of QuickBooks online, as it explains it, and enter those transactions and practice. The big thing about that is, especially at the very beginning of this whole process and gaining familiarity with the software itself, is that it's going to help you there. So it's just all about practice. Accounting, and good, accurate accounting, is obtained by very intentionally and pragmatically entering these transactions and checking them meticulously. Okay, I mean, we covered, and I mean, it was just a real quick type of a lesson on T accounts and debits equal credits and things like that. Those are of primary emphasis, so that we come out with a very accurate product in our reports in the end. So those things I can't emphasize too much. So the test drive practice there. Mark up your book. This is a book that it has no sales value. You want to sell it back, maybe the bookstore will give you some money back for it, but the code is no good, and that sort of thing. And mine that I've had over the last couple of years is completely, almost annihilated as far as how it's marked up. So I would encourage you to do so. It's just another way to trigger your brain to remember some of these things. Memorization is not the biggest thing. Familiarity is. When you get into a place and using logic to get to where you want to go in a computerized world is way more valuable than memorizing step by step. My mother and father, when they first started using their iPad, they wanted me to write down the procedure for every single thing. It's in the book, in this textbook, how to do each and every transaction that you're going to put in, at least initially, especially in the first few chapters. But it's an impossibility for most people, unless you have a photographic memory, to remember everything step by step. But if you familiarize yourself with it enough, it'll become somewhat second nature. And that's what we want to do in this class. I'm not trying to make it a memorization type of a lesson. That brings us to the last point that I'd like to make, is that you need to check your work, crawl, and then you walk, and then you run. You have to be, like I said, very intentional, pragmatic, slow down a little bit. Most of you, I watch you, you're just, it's amazing. You are amazing. In fact, when you send texts and messages to your friends on your phone, I mean, it's just like a machine gun fire with letters. And I'm pointing like one letter at a time, and that's the way you're going to have to do this. And if you do it enough, you'll get faster at it. So don't be dismayed at all. Okay. In this, couple other things just to point out about this chapter, and throughout the whole process of bookkeeping, computerized accounting especially, or that the dates are really important. In this particular, as we take through and we are entering this business's transactions, we will be using primarily this year. Now, I'm not going to say what that is because I might just use this video next year, if you get my drift. Okay, so this year, the year we're in, January to December is a fiscal year of this year. Now, in chapter 2, we entered all those account balances as of the end of last year. Again, I'm not going to say what that year is because then I can use it the next year. Okay, so remember that. It's going to be really important to always take a look at your dates before you save them. Some of these are going to be fairly easy to fix if you don't get the right date, but some of them are, I'd almost cuss, but I'm going to say dang near impossible to change without some kind of correcting entry to do that. Okay, so go slow. You're probably going to make some mistakes. I know it. But you're going to make a lot more mistakes if you go quickly. Okay? This chapter 3, it focuses mostly on recording sales, and both in the areas of cash and on account. Okay, so sales would be made on cash. We'd receive cash for sales of any kind of product or service that we would sell. We would record those on the day that they come into the business. On account means, of course, that the customer received the product or service but has not paid any or all of the cost or the price of that particular product or service. So it's an asset account for us, but it's actually what they owe us. Somebody else owes us, which we've covered as far as an asset goes, as far as our T accounts, if anybody remembers that. Okay. A couple other things we will cover in this particular chapter are customer payments, what we do or how we record bank deposits. It's a really nice, clean situation with QuickBooks Online, how to make those deposits. We can print out a report that gives us a deposit slip and also a deposit summary. So those are very nice reports for us to have. We also, okay, we're going to look at bank deposits. QuickBooks handles that very nicely. Receivables and sales in the same amount. So this video has gotten way too long so far. I'll try to make one of these videos at the beginning of each chapter. Not guaranteeing it, maybe every other one or so, but I can't say it enough. The reason I'm here is to help you. A lot of the stuff within this text is very self-explanatory, or at least it feels like it. If you get in a situation where it doesn't seem like it is, then let me know. If the only way you can communicate is through email, then give me kind of a description of what you're talking about, maybe even where you're at in the book, so that I can reference it and hone in on it and give you a good answer. Okay? All right. Well, have a good day and good luck with Chapter 3.